just like implementing something and then everyone's pissed. So like, okay, so there's also, so this is sort of like the public policy level, and I kind of want to like just quickly wrap up so we can sort of discuss different things. But like, so then I think about sort of like what is like the lower level from this? This is the huge, right? But like what about like organization? So a book I would recommend reading is the book I put earlier, Change by Design by a guy named Tim Brown. And he tells that basically that's from a studio, IDEO, you guys heard this like legendary design studio. And he talks about basically applying these ideas not to policy or huge systemic problems, but to, you know, if you can apply that to really any system, right? So like an organizational system. So they were hired to help a medical, like, you know, medical institution, whatever, a hospital, you know, improve some of their policies and create a strategic internal unit to do design projects. So one of the things they looked at, again, you're not designing like beds for people to sleep in, whatever. You're not designing traditional products. You're designing systems like service design. So this is what we're talking about. We're talking about design thinking. We're not talking about the design of things. We're talking about design of ideas, systems, relationships between people. So what they found was like that the shift change was like one of the biggest problems for patients and their nurses. You have nurses going home late. Their morale was low because they needed to communicate to the people who have their next shift how to, like, what is the status of all of you know, yours and my patients. So they would find that people would not write things down. They would write down post-it notes. They would write it in a log. Sometimes they would scribble on scrubs on their way out, right? But regardless, things were not being communicated well. Sometimes they would do it in person, but then, you know, someone has to show up early. You have to debrief them, and you show up late, so your morale's low. Stuff's getting lost that the patients care about. So things aren't getting communicated to the new nurses that the patients really feel as though this nurse needs to know. So now everyone's, whatever, in a bad state. So what they came up with instead was, well, they found that if you do your shift change in front of the patient, you dramatically improve the entire system. Because then now the conversation is happening in front of the patient doesn't feel left out. They can add in details they feel like need to be said. They're more confident in both nurses' ability to actually administer stuff. And then the nurses are getting home on time. Like that's what the first thing they found was like people are always getting home on time. And then they created a software way for them to like proactively record notes as they go through the day. So that way they're not at the end of the day thinking, oh shit, like what happened today that I need to communicate to these people. So this is an interesting example of like organizationally sort of applying design thinking to like how can we evaluate existing processes in the organization and identify the real problems. Because like again, like well patients aren't happy, nurses aren't happy. Well, you know, let's put like cupcakes in the boardroom and like get fluffier beds for the patients, right? Like whereas if you really understand the perspectives of the patients and the nurses, which is what they did, they really heavily researched it to understand that there are these more complex problems. So that's what you apply then sort of like these iterative approaches to. And also it's much less sort of costly, you know, resource sense and sort of public image sense to like test things in the hospital than you know, test public policy, right? So here like the stakes are getting lower, right? So they're talking about sort of at a lower level, like how can you sort of design your life? Like how can you apply design thinking to your life? And I would say the biggest thing is just like, obviously I don't have any answers, but for me, it's just been like being open to ideas and testing things. So like if there's something you're not certain about, rather than like stopping and thinking, like, okay, what should I do? Just be like, okay, well, what are some ideas? Let me jot some ideas and let me try them. Like for me, one of the things that's been like totally like transformative is like designing my Twitter feed, which sounds ridiculous, but like I follow people on Twitter that like I never would have thought I would, that are like sort of like their perspectives initially seem super abrasive and controversial, and then like over time, you realize like again, that sort of foxhole experience, you start to see people for who they are, and you start to be open to their ideas in a way that you just saw like a drive-by retweet where you saw a quote in the news and you wouldn't be open to those ideas, right? So it's just like, for me, that was super transformative, and that's sort of like I try to follow and unfollow people, test people, see if this is someone's perspective I think is valuable or interesting, whatever. So like, just try that out, right? I did the same thing with like to-do lists. Like I was like, no to-do list works well for me. Let me just try a bunch of them. And so you keep planning and whatever. Like, but most importantly, like identify your actual problems. Don't like say like, oh, that looks like a cool to-do list. Because again, that's a solution. But in your life, you might be in search of a problem. So just like for me, in terms of applying sort of the process of iteration and routine to your own life, is sort of just like make sure to test your assumptions. Because you know, like you might like be looking at like, okay, which thing should I do? And then like as you select one, you're gonna realize the pitfalls of it. So don't be so frustrated by one way or another. Don't be so committed to one way or another. So yeah, I sort of like said that we're gonna talk about public policy organizations in your life. It really was like mostly one, and then like those two, because I didn't have much like time to prepare slides. So
get like
Exactly,
the
yeah.
complications way down.
Yeah, they like, I know what you're talking about, they like kind of run that from like flight like pilots, and like pilots have like these ridiculously regimented checklists. I'm sure someone else knows more about this than I do, but like basically they took that idea and applied it to other disciplines, and like these, you know, the error rates relative to flights are like incredibly good. Like how can we take those processes and apply them elsewhere? So, yeah.
And then, have you ever seen the site that everyone deserves great design?
I've like seen different types of like movements like that. Like there are a lot of companies that really like it.
I think I can send it to you, but I found
Sure, yeah.
this a while ago, and he was talking about, kind of relevant to what you were talking about, the water pumps. So like they have like a kiddie wheel water pump, and it's just bad design. Because you're like, oh yeah, the kids will play on it, spin it, and like as they're playing, it pumps water up. But then like nobody uses it, and it ends up being more work because then like a single like woman is just walking around.
Yeah.
But it's also designing for the common man, and like it's really
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's a book I have here that I got. There's like a lot of really interesting books, really interesting examples from it. It's called Design Revolution, and it's basically like this woman who started this like consultancy that specifically like works like doing equipping like nonprofits and other stuff to do design work like for social good. And a lot of the projects we talk about are super interesting. Lab stuff like that. But yeah, it's just that's why like other you made some like people made assumptions. This is the thing that people are going to participate in. You really have no idea. So.
Can you name any major original assumptions you had that were changed based on like you guys enterprise and just the person you have?
Yeah, I would say like in general, I would say I've become more sympathetic to like most people. Like I've become more sympathetic to like disgustingly like rich people who are intent on like whatever, like for whatever reason, like wreaking havoc and gaining wealth. It's like it's sort of like characterized as a bad thing, but like at the end of the day, like just values, just like what you values. Like actually, there are lots of people I've met that I've talked to that like you sort of have an idea of like someone or someone's dad is like a dick, and like you meet them like a nice person, you just sort of like your values aren't the same, and you realize like it's not that this person's bad, I just have different values, and like that's important, right? And like likewise, I think like my assumptions going into Ethiopia were like absolutely shattered that like well-meaning people are actually well-meaning. And you realize like, I don't know, for me I just realized a lot of people do things like, a lot of people wear like bracelets for causes or push shit like for reasons that have nothing to do with the actual thing. Like, but to a ridiculous degree, like talking about like the way that certain organizations get aid money is based on like, you know, these people write these proposals and these grants like, oh, well, we're gonna give AIDS education to 1 million people. And so like they run these shitty programs, and by the end of like whatever their time, like 2 months are up, and they need their budget renewed, and they want to ask for more money, and they've only educated 20,000 people, not 1 million. So they put up billboards, and then like everyone they sit there with a clicker, and everyone who drives by, they like do the math and just like basically say, oh, we educated 1.5 million people on about AIDS because we put up a billboard that says to wear condoms. And so like shit like that happens all the time. Basically, that was sort of blew my mind. Like this guy who'd been like working on the ground, who's like doing public health programs for like 20 years and has like a PhD in development economics. And again, he says I don't believe in it. Was just telling me story after story, just like how basically every organization you think is good is like just really full of shit. And it was pretty insane. So yeah, I would say like most like my assumption that like you see stuff on you see like someone do a good thing, you're like that's a good thing, whatever. Like they gave this organization, it sort of like makes me skeptical of NGOs in general. So I'd say that is one thing. I also like had a lot of assumptions that like I learned a lot of myself. I would say too. Like I assume like you always assume that you're right, and that you're well-meaning. And in reality, like when you look inside, you realize like most of what I do is just because I want to feel a certain way about myself, not because I actually care about the things that I'm saying. But hopefully I try to minimize that.
So I have two questions, but more just your thoughts, because I think these are tough questions. The first question, how do you, especially for areas that you're kind of like foreign to, and maybe there aren't many outlets for you to get like advice from, how do you determine whether you're satisficing or whether you're selecting optimally when it comes to design?
What was it? What was the last part?
Just how do you determine whether you're like satisficing or just picking the first best solution that you find versus choosing the optimal solution?
Well, I would say you very rarely just like, whatever, go with like something that's not good. If you are doing like contextual inquiry, so like, and if you don't know, if by the end of a project you don't know anything about a particular domain of knowledge or culture, then like you fail, right? As far as I'm concerned, because if you have come up with a solution without understanding the people and context and culture you're designing for, like yeah, my opinion, you failed. So if you come out of it and like I'm not sure, like you failed. If you've done something that's good, you will have like 10 like basically like a trail of 10 not failed ideas, but 10 like alternative ideas that you realized we're just overlooking some huge thing or we're not applicable to this context. So I think like in terms of how you actually do it, you just get to know the people and context of which you're designing for. And that doesn't mean reading on the internet. It means like hanging out with people, watching them work. Like if you're building something for people in a museum, you have to go to a museum. Like you have to understand the context in which something's going to be used. So.
And then the second question that I have is back to your what I'll call your Venn diagram of existence, where you basically have like the hierarchical layout of how things would work. I think the thing that really intrigues me is determining whether something is like a proximal cause, whether it's an ultimate cause. And I wonder, because I think you sort of mentioned, how does the outer realm sort of affect the graphics or the architecture or the industrial aspects that you were talking about? Is there any sort of like cycle-like impact that maybe the architecture choice that you made that was based on something higher can reflect back into something? And if that happens, if you're trying to find a new solution for something, how do you sort of determine if that exists, and how do you undo maybe some effects that might seem undoable? If that makes sense.
Yeah, that's really hard. I think like in terms of that, certain things in the outer circle, I would say like most often you find like policy, so like that outer space representing like policy and the forces that govern the inner things. A lot of times those things are reactions, right? So if you think about like city zoning laws or like things like that, those usually don't, it's not just like someone's like, oh well, we should really like seriously add some building code because something bad is going to happen one day, right? It's usually like something truly terrible happens and then you react, right? You add policy, you add code, whatever. Or like someone's trying to build a building or someone does build a building and you realize you don't want anything else to really be that terrible, so you implement zoning, right? So I think that a lot of times it's actually one of the problems is the policy is very reactionary in nature. So I would say like, yeah, I find there is definitely, you're right, there's a relationship between that, and it's oftentimes a reactionary one, or one that's informed by like other things. So was your question how you determine?
Yeah, like just in the context of maybe if it's trying to find a solution, or if it's your own self-reflection of why are things the way that they are, how can you sort of determine, are you just looking back in history, looking into the past and trying, just like, again, sort of alluding to you're just asking and being involved in the environment?
Yeah, sure. So I think like, I